Alright, let's talk about trade wars, specifically the trade war that's been simmering between the US and China. Now imagine this. What if, in a fit of pique, let's say after a particularly frustrating phone call about pandas or something, Trump decides to slap a 245% tariff on all goods coming in from China? 245%. That's not a tariff, that's basically holding Chinese imports hostage and demanding their lunch money. Now you might be thinking, well that'll teach them, we'll finally be making things in America again. And sure, maybe we'll see a resurgence in artisanal butter churn production, but the reality is far more complicated and frankly, terrifying. Let's break down the real-world effects for the US, China, and the global economy, because trust me, this dumpster fire would engulf us all. The first thing you'd notice, your wallet's gonna feel a lot lighter. And I'm not talking about the kind of light you feel after a sensible salad. I'm talking holy hell did my iPhone just cost $3,000 kind of light. See those iPhones? Assembled in China? Your clothes? Made in China? Your kids' annoyingly catchy talking toys? Yep, China again. This tariff would make everything from electronics to clothing to those little plastic toys you find at the bottom of the toy bin that you swear you threw away months ago, significantly more expensive. And it's not just consumer goods. Businesses rely on Chinese imports for everything from machinery to raw materials. So, get ready for higher prices across the board, folks. It'll be like Black Friday, but every day, and instead of deals, it's just existential dread. Remember that whole trade war thing? Well, it's not just a cute name, it's a war on affordability, and guess who's on the front lines? You, me, and anyone who enjoys, being able to afford things. Remember that steady stream of cargo ships sailing back and forth between the US and China? Well, slap on a 245% tariff, and it's more like a traffic jam orchestrated by a particularly vindictive toddler. See those ships? They carry goods, and those goods, suddenly, are about as welcome in the US as a skunk at a picnic. This tariff wouldn't just make trade expensive, it would make it practically impossible. Businesses would be forced to find new suppliers, and fast. Problem is, China's been a manufacturing powerhouse for so long, finding alternatives won't be easy. It's like trying to replace your morning coffee with, well, there's no replacement for coffee, is there? So, while the US scrambles to find its new caffeine fix, the global trade system shudders. Remember the butterfly effect? This is less a butterfly and more like a pterodactyl flapping its wings and causing a Category 5 economic hurricane. Now, if you think China's just going to sit back and take this tariff-shaped punch to the gut, you clearly haven't been paying attention. China's got options, and none of them are good for the US. They could slap retaliatory tariffs on American goods, making everything from iPhones to cars to soybeans more expensive for Chinese consumers. And it doesn't stop there. China could make life very difficult for American companies operating in China, throwing up regulatory hurdles and generally making them feel about as welcome as a vegan at a BBQ competition. Oh, and did I mention that China could start strengthening ties with other countries, looking for new trading partners who aren't, actively trying to tank their economy? It's like a messy breakup, except instead of passive-aggressive Facebook posts, it's two economic superpowers playing a high-stakes game of chicken with the entire world watching. Buckle up, folks, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Remember that whole globalized economy thing? Yeah, this is where it gets really messy. See, companies have spent decades building complex supply chains, sourcing materials and manufacturing goods in the most cost-effective way possible. But throw a 245% tariff into the mix and suddenly, cost-effective goes out the window faster than a toupee in a hurricane. Companies would be scrambling to relocate their manufacturing, shifting production to countries like Vietnam, India, or Mexico. Now, on the surface, that might sound great for those countries, and sure, they'll likely see an economic boost. But it also creates chaos and uncertainty in the global market. It's like trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic after it's already hit the iceberg. The problem is these supply chains are like delicate ecosystems. Disrupt them, and the ripple effects are felt worldwide. And by ripple effects, I mean chaos, confusion, and a whole lot of economic anxiety. So what happens when you combine skyrocketing prices, collapsing trade, and a global game of economic hot potato? Well, it's not pretty. First, say hello to inflation, your new best friend who just loves to devalue your money. Remember that $10 you used to pay for a pizza? Yeah, get ready to add a zero to that. But wait, there's more. Businesses, already reeling from the trade war, start laying off workers. The stock market, spooked by all this uncertainty, goes on a roller coaster ride that would make even the most hardened thrill seeker lose their lunch. And the global economy? Well, let's just say it's not a pretty picture. It's a perfect storm of economic turmoil, and the worst part is, it's entirely avoidable. This isn't some inevitable natural disaster. It's a self-inflicted wound caused by short-sighted policies and a whole lot of bluster. So there you have it. The 245% tariff. A terrible idea, on a scale that's hard to even comprehend. It's a policy that would hurt everyone involved, from American consumers to Chinese manufacturers to, well, pretty much everyone on the planet. Countries like India, Vietnam, and Mexico may benefit in the short term, but the global economy is interconnected. When one part suffers, everyone feels the pain. This kind of economic warfare is like playing with live ammunition. You might think you're in control, but the consequences are unpredictable and potentially devastating. Could this lead to a recession? The risk is high. As the world's two biggest economies clash, everyone feels the impact.